hotel that doesn't let you leave. If you're ever driving late at night, searching for a place to rest, be careful where you stop, because some hotels don't let you leave. A late night stop. I had been driving for hours. The road stretched endlessly ahead, swallowed by darkness. My eyelids were heavy, my body aching from exhaustion. That's when I saw it. A neon sign flickering in the night. Hillside Inn, vacancy. It wasn't in my GPS. In fact, I could have sworn there had been nothing but open highway just minutes ago, but I was too tired to care. I pulled into the gravel lot, shut off the engine, and stepped out. The air was too still. No crickets, no wind, just silence. I shivered, but exhaustion overpowered unease, so I grabbed my bag and walked toward the entrance. The doors slid open with a mechanical hiss. Inside, the lobby was dimly lit, with old floral wallpaper peeling at the edges. A single lamp flickered behind the front desk, and standing there was a man. His skin was pale, almost too pale, like he hadn't seen the sun in years. His smile was stretched a little too wide. "Welcome," he said. His voice was smooth, too smooth. "Checking in?" I hesitated. Something about this place felt wrong, but I was just being paranoid, right? So I nodded. "Big mistake. Room 306. He handed me a key, an actual key, not a key card. The brass tag on it read Room 306. "The elevator's down the hall," the man said. "Enjoy your stay." I forced a polite smile and walked away. The elevator dinged open before I even pressed the button. I stepped inside. The doors slid shut. But instead of music or the usual hum of machinery, the elevator was silent. I glanced at the buttons. Floors 1 through 5. But there was something strange. No button for the lobby. I frowned and pressed 3. The lights flickered. Then the elevator started moving. The room that was waiting for me. When the doors slid open, the hallway was empty. I found my room at the end of the corridor. The brass numbers 306 gleamed under the dim lights. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room was normal. Beige walls, a queen-sized bed, an old TV sitting on a wooden dresser. But something felt off. The air was stale. The bed sheets looked too neat, like they had never been touched. And then I saw it. On the nightstand. A guest book. Its pages were yellowed, filled with scrawled signatures. I flipped through them absent-mindedly until I saw the last entry. "Do not stay past midnight. Do not try to leave." The hairs on my arms rose. And then, the closet door creaked open. Something is in here with me. My breath caught in my throat. The closet door stood slightly ajar, revealing nothing but darkness. I told myself the air conditioning must have shifted it. But then, I heard breathing. Slow, ragged. Coming from inside the closet, I grabbed my bag and bolted for the door. But when I yanked it open, I wasn't in the hallway. I was back in my room. The same room. I turned, my pulse hammering. The bed was still made, the lamp still flickered. But the closet, it was wide open now. And the guest book on the nightstand? It had a new entry. "You can't leave." The never-ending hallway panic surged through me. I threw the door open again. This time the hallway was there. But something was wrong. The wallpaper was peeling more than before. The carpet was darker, stained. I sprinted down the corridor, slamming the elevator button. Ding! The doors slid open. I stumbled inside, jabbing the lobby button. But there was no lobby button. Only room 306. The doors slid shut, and when they reopened, I was standing back in my room. The hotel won't let me go. I don't know how long I've been here. Time doesn't feel real anymore. The guest book keeps changing. New entries appear every time I blink. Somebody help me. Don't check in. The manager is watching. I hear them at night. The others, guests who never left. Their whispers seep through the walls. Their shadows stretch under my door. And the worst part? I think I'm becoming one of them. A warning to you. If you ever see Hillside Inn, keep driving. Because once you check in, you'll never check out. The town with no signs of life. Some places shouldn't exist, and when you stumble upon them, you shouldn't stay. A wrong turn. I was on my way to visit my sister in Colorado, driving through miles of empty highway. The gas station attendant had warned me, "Stick to the main roads. GPS ain't reliable out here." But I didn't listen. Somewhere along the way, my phone lost service, and the road signs became less familiar. That's when I saw the detour, a faded wooden sign with an arrow pointing left. Oak Ridge, 10 miles. I didn't remember seeing Oak Ridge on the map, but I was low on gas, and if there was a town nearby, it was worth checking out. Big mistake. A town frozen in time. The road narrowed as I drove in, lined with towering, dead trees. The sky was too gray, the air too still. Then the town appeared. Small, old-fashioned buildings with wooden facades. A diner, a gas station, a general store. Everything looked abandoned, yet nothing was broken. No boarded-up windows, no signs of decay, just empty. I pulled up to the gas station. The pump looked like it hadn't been used in years, but when I lifted the nozzle, gas flowed freely. I felt a chill. Where were the people? I turned toward the diner. The open sign glowed faintly in the window. The stools at the counter were neatly arranged. Plates sat on the tables as if someone had just left mid-meal. But there was no one inside. I knocked. Silence. Then a flicker of movement in the window's reflection. I spun around. Nothing was there. The whispering wind. The farther I walked into town, the stronger the feeling grew. I was being watched. Shops stood perfectly intact. A barber shop with a red and white pole still spinning. A grocery store fully stocked with food, yet not a single soul in sight. A signpost read, "Welcome to Oak Ridge, population 241. My stomach twisted. There were no cars, no pets, no sounds of life, just me. And then, the wind spoke. It wasn't the rustling of leaves or the howling through alleyways, it was words. A whisper that slithered through the streets, echoing off the buildings. You're not supposed to be here. My blood ran cold. Something itching. I bolted back toward my car, heart hammering, but the gas station was gone. The road I'd driven in on vanished. The street stretched endlessly now, looping back into the same rows of silent buildings. I spun in circles, disoriented. And then I saw them, figures standing in the windows, motionless shadows with hollow eyes staring from the second floors, not moving, just watching. The stranger who knew my name, I ran. I didn't know where I was going, just away from the eyes, away from the whispering wind. Then I saw the hotel, a grand Victorian-style building, its doors slightly ajar. I had no other choice. I pushed inside and slammed the doors behind me. The lobby was dusty but untouched. A grand chandelier hung above, casting eerie shadows. The desk bell sat polished, untouched. Then, footsteps. A man stepped out from the hallway, tall, dressed in old-fashioned clothes like he belonged to a different era. His skin was pale, almost gray, and when he spoke, my stomach dropped. He knew my name. "Welcome to Oak Ridge, Daniel, the town that won't let you leave." I never told him my name. I backed away, gripping the doorknob. Locked. The man only smiled. "You took a wrong turn," he said. "You shouldn't have come." I'll leave," I stammered. "Just let me go." His expression didn't change. "No one leaves." I bolted for the stairs, desperate for another exit. The halls stretched too long, the doors lining them identical. I tried one, locked, another, locked, and then I heard it, a heartbeat, not mine. The walls were breathing. A deep, slow inhale, a long, rattling exhale. The entire town was alive. The last exit I had to escape, I ran back down, but the lobby was different now. The front desk was gone, the doors were gone, and standing where the entrance had been were the townspeople. Hundreds of them, their faces blank, eyes hollow. The man stepped forward. "You belong to Oak Ridge now." I turned, searching for any way out, and then the floor gave way. Trapped in Oak Ridge, I woke up in my car. The town was gone. No buildings, no roads, just an empty field. Had it been a dream? I checked my gas tank full. Then my phone lit up. I had service again. But my relief turned to horror when I looked at the screen, because the date was 3 years later and the last photo of my gallery was of the hotel. And behind the glass doors, barely visible, I saw myself, trapped inside, still trying to leave. A warning to you, if you ever see a sign for Oak Ridge, keep driving, because once you enter, you'll never escape. The haunted doll I bought by accident. Some things should never be owned. Some things carry something with them. And sometimes, what you bring home never truly belongs to you. A lucky find or a curse. It started with an innocent trip to an antique store. I'd been helping my sister furnish her new house, browsing through dusty shelves and cabinets filled with forgotten relics. That's when I saw the doll. She sat on an old wooden chair, staring straight ahead. Her glass eyes were an unnatural shade of green. Her porcelain skin cracked in places, and her lips were frozen in a delicate smile, too delicate. A name was scrawled on a small, faded tag hanging from her wrist. I laughed. Like the horror movie? The old woman behind the counter didn't laugh. "You shouldn't take that one," she said quietly. I glanced at the price, $5. It seemed too cheap for something so old. But that should have been my first warning. The eyes that followed me. From the moment I brought the doll home, something felt wrong. I placed her on a shelf in my living room, among some other decorations. That night, I could have sworn I heard tiny movements in the house, a faint scraping sound, like something shifting against wood. I dismissed it as my imagination, until I noticed the doll had moved. She wasn't sitting in the same position. Her head had tilted slightly, her gaze now angled toward the hallway. I brushed it off. Maybe I bumped the shelf, maybe I misremembered. But the next morning, something made my blood run cold. The doll was no longer on the shelf. She was sitting on my coffee table, facing me. A whisper in the night. I put the doll back, telling myself I must have moved it absent-mindedly. But that night, I woke up to a sound that turned my stomach to ice. A whisper. It wasn't coming from outside. It was inside my house. The voice was soft, almost a breath, but I couldn't make out the words. I lay frozen in bed, heart pounding. Then, a soft click. My bedroom door slowly swung open. I scrambled for my bedside lamp, and there, standing in the doorway, was the doll. The footsteps that shouldn't exist. I threw the doll into the closet, locking the door, but that didn't stop it. Every night, the whispering returned. Soft at first, then closer. The sound of tiny footsteps skittering across the floor. Sometimes, I'd wake up with scratches on my arms. Other times, I'd find objects move, drawers slightly open, chairs shifted, doors unlocked. Then I made the mistake of checking my phone's voice recorder. I had started leaving it on at night, hoping to prove to myself I wasn't imagining things. When I listened back, there was a voice, a child's voice, and it whispered, "Let me out." A friend from the other side. I couldn't take it anymore. I brought the doll back to the antique store, slamming it on the counter. The old woman only shook her head. "She won't stay gone," she said. "I don't want it anymore," I said, panicked. It moves, it whispers." The woman sighed. "She's not just a doll," she said. "She's a home." I stared at her. "For what?" I asked. Her eyes darkened. "For someone who never left." "It's not over." I didn't care. I left the doll there, walked out, and never looked back. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept peacefully, until I woke up and saw the faded tag on my nightstand, the one that read, Annabelle. And across my bedroom, sitting in the chair in the corner, she was waiting for me. A warning to you. If you ever find an old doll at an antique shop and the price is too low, don't buy it, because some things don't want to be owned. They want a home. And once they choose you, you can never give them back.